Anyone? Rachel, if you could step up to the, like there's one right behind you.
This question is for Holly. Holly, you talk about in your presentation, you talked about trying to establish a good relationship with tribes to do better archaeology, better landscape studies. However, I've always understood that the tribal consultation process is a government-to-government process. So how do we, as individuals or good practitioners of landscape recordation, archaeology, whatever we're doing, how do we reach out to you guys on a non-government-to-government level?
Personally, I don't know of any THPO who would turn people away, other than, there's a lot of people who are out there for their own gain to obtain certain knowledge or something. But for people who are working to help preserve resources, I would say contact the Historic Preservation Office, or if they haven't assumed those responsibilities, they typically will have somebody in charge of cultural preservation, excuse me, and find that out. Or if not, then you would need to contact the tribal president and state what you're interested in and why, your reasoning. And as I said, in a lot of cases, if you're out to help to preserve and document those things, I don't see tribes turning you away. We have a lot of students who are working on different projects, and it's appreciated more by the tribes if they are approached rather than them just trying to do that project on their own through what they can find or individuals they talk to. But if they actually were to approach the cultural people or the tribal leaders before they proceed with that project. So, and most tribes too, nowadays, I think you can locate them on the web. The Mescalero Apache tribe has their own Facebook page, that you can send in things. And also the tribe as a government. So the phone numbers for those and the addresses are all present there.
Okay, I have a question from Michael. In that the National Park Service does officially designate certain cultural landscapes, what's the potential that the Texas parks could eventually be doing something similar?
We certainly could do that in terms of where we are in that process. We're really at the beginning stages of doing that, of looking at that. It's something that within the Cultural Resources Program, we've had conversations about how do we get there. Financing is part of it. We're currently 3 people down on staff, those kinds of things. When we have the money and we have the time, we will go get the cultural landscape reports done. We have a lot of archaeology done across the parks, and so we, at the moment, are doing it more, as I said, on a case-by-case or an ad hoc basis, but it is a part of the conversation that we are having as a program. And again, once we get our staff built back up, it's something that, as a manager, I intend for us to be doing and talking about.
Can we think that maybe within 5 years there will be an official designation of some locales?
I'm a government bureaucrat, so I won't promise timelines.
Well, all right. Nothing like job security.
And to that, Michael reached out to me, and we've been having conversations. You reached out to me about a year ago, probably, about talking to your staff. And yeah, so there's dialogue going on between Texas Parks and Wildlife and the Park Service. So there is work being done in that direction, I think. So
it definitely is a hope of ours, yes.
Hi, I'm Jody Jacobson. I'm with Texas State University. I have a question for Rachel. As you're working on, the complexity of dealing with a historic landscape with an overlapping prehistoric landscape, and of course the focus is primarily on the historic and then how the prehistoric ties into it, how are you integrating with tribes and tribal concerns over their cultural landscape issues within the same area?
That's a really good question. Unfortunately, I don't have a good answer to that question. So because the land is administered by the Los Alamos National Laboratory, and as you can imagine, they don't have a history of good communication with the surrounding tribes when this land was developed for scientific research and development of the atom bomb. There is essentially no communication that we're aware of with the surrounding tribes. That land was...
Go ahead.
Oh. Am I not supposed to be saying these things out loud?
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
No, it's just the Department of Energy. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh,
no,
yeah.
I'll speak to it when you're
Okay.
done.
Yeah, so the land was essentially taken and used, and it's obviously it was secret. Nobody in the rest of the country, probably you can count on one hand the number of people who knew what was happening at those sites. And so unfortunately that hasn't evolved in the way that it should. So I think one of the things that we're hoping to do is to bring in that aspect of tribal consultation. There's a lot that's been done on those sites that can't be undone, that consultation never happened for, and so I think the best way to move forward is to bring folks in now and say, this is where we're at right now. How can we move forward in a way that's sensitive to you all and to the stake that you have in these sites and this land, and how can we handle it moving forward that's gonna obviously not undo things that have already been done, but at least, hopefully not make things worse.
Yeah, and so it's complicated, as Rachel said. The National Park Service does not get to do tribal consultation for this park. That is the Department of Energy. So we can make recommendations, but the Department of Energy will do what they want to do. So it's a little bit out of our hands. However, documenting the cavates, when we first started, and this can continue on, I think, with Rachel's team, we do have tribal members doing that work. So they are there. They are on the site, and we need their expertise. And so as much as they can come over, they do work for the National Park Service for Bandelier National Monument. As much as they can come over and help, we want them there, and they know that. And they have a very good relationship with the archaeologist from Lanel. So there's layers of things going on here in this place and how we're working to document it. And Robert knows how complex this is too. He's right there with us on all of this. The cavates were damaged and used by the Manhattan Project. And so, if we don't talk about them, we really can't talk about the Manhattan Project and how that land was used. So again, you got to collaborate and talk. And what I'm finding with the Department of Energy, if I'm allowed to say this publicly, is that this is about education, and that is the role of the National Park Service, and that's what we're doing. So it's just a process, and they're coming along, I think. Yeah. So thank you.